Oh, hi, everybody. It's Ezra Levant here. What a great pleasure to see you. It's July 6th at 12 noon Eastern Time. Every day at 12 noon for this whole pandemic, so we're about 100 days into it or so. We do a live stream in the middle of the day. We used to talk primarily about the pandemic and pandemic politics, but now it's just become a fun noonday habit. I do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday. My colleagues Sheila Gunn-Reid and David Menzies do it Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I want to tell you my favorite thing about it. It's the viewer comments. I ramble a bit. Sheila and David have the benefit of having each other to bandy and the banter about. I just sort of go on long tangents, but let's be honest, if there was someone on the show with me, they really wouldn't be able to get a word in edgewise. So it really would be no different. I like to joke that my favorite interview question in my 8 p.m. show is blah, 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 blah. Am I right? And some people say that's not quite journalism, but says you. But in addition to the regular comments, we have super chats. For example, Kane Enmark chips in 5 smackers and says, Atlanta shooting over the weekend in their own Chaz, not by whites. The huge shootings in Atlanta, and it's so sad, but so predictable because that was a city of riots and anti-police riots and defund the police and all that action. Yeah, that's what life is like without police. As Thomas Hobbes says, nasty, brutish, and short. So super chats are what I just read. Kane Enmark chipped in $5. It makes your chat in a bright highlighted color. It's stuck to the top of the chat window for a period of time commensurate with the gift. And we get to keep 70% of the dough, which is very important when you don't take a cent of government money. We do not take any government money. And it's why we're independent. And it's why we can say what we mean and mean what we say, as opposed to the media party, as I call it. Media party is sort of a fun word. I like it. It hasn't really caught on outside of my own circles, I don't think. I've also seen the media political industrial complex. I like that. Donald Trump says the fake news media. Some people say the lamestream media. I don't really like that phrase. Legacy media is a pretty friendly way of saying it. But I like the media party because I think that best summarizes who they are and what they do. They are like a political force in themselves. Obviously, they're an auxiliary of Canada's Liberal Party and America's Democrat Party. They have a party discipline. If any journalist dares to deviate from it, they are ousted and deemed a non-person and non-journalist, like parties have a party whip, party discipline. So in America, OAN, Fox News, Drudge, Breitbart, they're legitimate journalists. In some of those cases, they're enormous audiences, but they're called not real journalists by the fancy pants. Of course, we face the same thing here in Canada by our government parliamentary press gallery. But alas, here we are with 1.3 million subscribers and you. So thank you for watching. What I like to do on this show is I like to be a little loosier-goosier than on my 8 p.m. show. Every day at 8 p.m. Eastern, I have a produced show. I have a monologue. Typically, it's about 20 minutes long. And then I interview a guest. Today we got our old friend Kurt Schlichter, is that right? Kurt Schlichter, who is a prolific American commentator. He's a lawyer down there. He's a military veteran, good egg, and he is such a busy writer. He's always coming out with new books, and they do well. Hey, speaking of which, check this out. Check it out. This is my new book. It's called China Virus, and I am so happy with how it's doing so far. It hit #1 in the Amazon.ca Kindle store on, I think, Friday. Is that when it hit #1? And it hit #2 in the paperback. The paperback version hit #2. Didn't hit #1 in the paperback, so we got to keep trying. And as I think I showed you the other day, we had so much fun with the ratings because a lot of people are giving this book a rating and not reading it, both friends and foes. You scroll down a bit, there are some verified, you see that one there? China Virus. You see the one a little bit further down where it says verified purchase. See that in orange color? So that you can't just write that. That's Amazon saying, yeah, this guy actually read it. So China Virus, Appleyard, is that what that says? says, very interesting reading, can't wait for the next book. Let's read the next one. Don't mind me. I'm just enjoying the actual people who actually read the book. Thanks, Amazon, for releasing this book, Educating Canada. It's from Gary. Wow, amazing journalism at its best. You be the judge. All fact, or this would be before the courts as slander. Think about that. A great read. Quite awakening. Well, that's nice of you to say. It's footnoted, by the way, so you don't have to take it on spec. You can check the footnotes. Steve says, what journalism is supposed to be. Negative comments are made by paid trolls that can't read. Keep up the great work, Rebel News. You are are you doing what the lefty cowards are afraid to? And as opposed to Kim, this book is pure garbage. It makes for great burning material. You'll notice she wrote it on July 1. The book was not out on July 1, Kim. A. McGee, short and revealing. That was my nickname in college. Short and revealing. I just showed too much leg. And I was 5 feet, maybe 5'1". Hey, look who's short and revealing. Yeah. Short and revealing ladies. That's what every lady looks for on online dating. A lot of ladies say, I want a feller, he can't be any taller than 5'2". And I want him to be a little bit mysterious, but a little bit revealing. So obviously my handle on Friendster, which is what I used at the time, and MySpace was short and revealing. Anyway, can we put that back up there? So it's just a little bit of a trip down memory lane, my first kiss and all that. Short and revealing, just like Ezra. Scroll a little bit further down. Short and revealing, thank you very much. Factual. After reading this, you continue to support Justin Trudeau and his corrupt government. You are a bigger idiot than Trudeau is. Factual with evidence. The political connection between JT, his Liberal government, and the CCP, well, read it. Zoltan Karali, number 1, must read. That's just like, this is making me feel better. Amazing. I don't know if that person read it. Racist garbage. That person didn't read it. Are there any more verified? I think that might be it for now. Well, thanks for making me feel good and for bringing back the painful memories of prom night when short and revealing took on a more personal anatomical meaning, and I still bear the emotional scars of that 48 years later. However, I have successfully fathered some children, allegedly. Of course, they say only the mother can be 100% sure the kids are hers. The dad has to take it on faith. Maxwell Walters, $20. Keep up the good fight. Thank you very much for that. Did I miss any of the super chats? There's your stand. There's one more. Let me just get it in here. $5 from Fraser McBurney. Wow, I had knock on the door Sunday afternoon, and to my surprise, there was on a Sunday night, Fraser. Sunday night? Sunday afternoon. You know, I read, and maybe you can find the headline, Justin. I read that Jeff Bezos, the boss of Amazon, his net worth, despite his divorce with his missus, who got so much, I saw a headline, going from memory, maybe you can find it, that his net worth is now up to an all-time high, $166.3 billion. Now that's just a YouTube fact box. I read, 171 billion. That's exactly what I saw. Maybe click on that link or so. 171 billion is what I saw. Jeff Bezos' net worth just hit an all-time high. Here's how the richest person in the world makes and spends his 171 billion. What was it, just a couple days ago? $171 billion. And you know what? If you say you got this book delivered to you, Fraser, on a Sunday afternoon, that's why he's worth 171 billion. Would you agree with me on that? And that's probably American dollars. That's like a $250 billion Canuck mini bucks, short and revealing bucks. Let's keep going here. I mean, seriously, Sunday afternoon courier service, and I don't know how much you paid for shipping on Amazon. I just ordered this because I wanted to see how fast it would come and blah, blah, blah. Came pretty quick, pretty quick. And I don't even think I paid shipping. then I am a member of Amazon Prime. So yeah, you know, Jeff Bezos, not only does he give you what you want, he gives it to you on a Sunday afternoon. David Anderson, $5. Kurt is my second favorite political writer, but you are my number one, Ezra. Well, thank you. You are my number one. Don't make me be short and revealing again. Kurt's novels are the best, however, get them on Amazon. Well, we're going to have Kurt on tonight. I'm going to have a good chat with him, and then we'll put it up on YouTube tomorrow. That's how we do it, you know. We have the full interview on the paywalled show, which you can get at rebelnews.com, and then we put excerpts up on the YouTubes. Typically not the whole thing, but a fun, pithy expert, pithy. Suffering succotash, that's pithy. P-I-T-H-Y. Don't get pithy with me. Why are you so pithy? P-I-T-H-Y. Tosh chips in £5. Keep up the great work. Ezra from England. Well, thank you very much. You know, I miss going over to Old Blighty, but hopefully when the travel restrictions, I see Nigel Farage was at the pub. Can we get a picture of Nige? You know, I never understood pub culture. Tommy cured me of that. The fun thing about pubs in the UK is it's a whole family affair. The kids are there. So it's not like just lascivious. Yeah, look there. Look at that guy. Yeah, give me some volume. Look at that. Oh, what a good egg. The Darwin one.
He lived in the village and wrote his controversial book here. Name, rank and serial number? Yes. Okay. Thank you. Hi everybody. Hi. And there she is. This is who the pub is named after. It's a good picture. I'm the first customer in. It's 12 o'clock. I thought it'd be a bit of a queue, but not yet. But I've no doubt. Quite how at 3 o'clock this afternoon social distancing works, I'm not sure, but we'll see. So we've got 3 beers on, yeah?
Yes, I believe so. We've got Harvey's, Sussex, and then we've got Summer Pearl, and we've also got North Down Brewery as well.
Yeah. I'll start with the Summer Pearl.
Summer Pearl,
Thank
fantastic.
you.
I'll get that for you right away.
Am I live streaming again?
You are.
You've got to go sit down, they're the rules. Are you signed in?
Yes, I did.
You sanitised?
And your phone number.
I've got you on that. So are you guys here just for one or settling in for?
Unless we get kicked out.
You stay for a maximum of 4 hours.
4?
You're in for leave the premises and come back.
That's 4 hours on that bed. You could have booked that bed for 8 o'clock this evening.
No, we're going to go and watch the tennis game at 3 and then come back.
4 an hour.
Yeah.
6 foot.
Exactly. Got it. Great stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.
I love the banter. You know, didn't it look friendly? The Queen's head, I think that was Queen Elizabeth I there. Are you having one or are you settling in for a bit? As you could see, it was comfy. There was big couches. It's not just like a nightclub over there. The pub culture, the whole family goes there. They have a meal. Other families are there. The kids go outside and play in the back. The kids play in the front. The families get up and schmooze, move table to table. They park there for hours. It is fun. And it is very family friendly. That's what you know, I mean, in Canada, there's no alcohol, no minors allowed, and it's always dark. The pubs there, first of all, the food can be great, and there's just something super friendly about everyone going to hang out together. And I didn't know that. And Nigel is the epitome of that friendly pub culture, and it doesn't surprise me one bit that he was literally the first person into the pubs, which had all been shut down for months. Coming up on 4 months, the pubs were shut down. Yeah, so I'm glad that's open, and maybe I'll head on back there again and catch up with the lad Tommy, see how he's doing. And just in the UK in general, I mean, I think that they had some of the worst pandemic political responses, and to my great distress, there was very little civil liberties pushback on it. It renewed my acquaintance with Peter Hitchens and his work, the brother of the departed Christopher Hitchens, who, do we have a picture? There's a still image of Peter Hitchens, I think it was at Oxford, the only one standing where everyone kneeled. Can you just Google that? Just such a man of courage and independent thought, a man of logic, a man of words, so much like his brother in that way. Makes me miss his brother very much. I only had a very short interaction. Yeah, look at that. So there he is. Can we zoom in a little bit? So everyone is just take a knee, bow down, submit. And there's Peter Hitchens. No thanks, mate. You do you, I'll do me. It really reminds me of those images, like that image of the Nazi rally where everyone was Sieg Heiling, but the one person had their arms crossed. Now, I'm not comparing Black Lives Matter to Nazis, but the peer pressure must be staggering there. And look at him, he just don't care. He knows who he is and what he believes, and he knows he bows to no one other than Queen Elizabeth, and he may have bowed down to propose to his wife, short and revealing. Let's get back to the comments. Mike Seguin, $7, just ordered your book on Amazon. Mike, thank you very much. Peter Bass, $2. The new book is great. Trudeau, Tamar Traitors. Well, I'm glad you liked the book. Proud Boys Calgary, $5. Alberta Proud Boys had our own autonomous zone this weekend. Ezra wasn't invited. I trespass you. I trespass you. I trespass you. Parador, you are very short and revealing. I want to swim in your rivers. Parador. That's what they said when we went on the Toronto City Hall. They kept saying, the mall cops, I trespass you. I trespass. I don't think they know what the word means. That's not what you say. You're claiming I trespassed on your land. You don't say I trespass you. They said it so much, I think I even repeated it back after a while once. Sino Partium Comunista Delenda S, join Proud Boys. That means the Chinese Communist Party must be destroyed. You know, I don't want to jump ahead, but I think we may have signed up a freelance reporter in Hong Kong already, embedded in Hong Kong. I'm letting the cat out of the bag. I don't want to give you details till it's inked. You know, I think that city, that great, great city, Alexandria, the greatest library in the world, of the ancient world, and it was all torched. The sack of Rome, the siege of Vienna, the fall of Constantinople, some of the mightiest, greatest cities in history, destroyed, or, I mean, obviously Constantinople is still standing, those other cities too, but Hong Kong has fallen. Hong Kong has fallen, and I only regret that I hadn't seen it in a few years. I don't even think it would be safe for me to go there now. What a sad shame. Court Conquest, £5. Thank you for that. K1, $20. Can you make a report from inside of any hospitals in Toronto? Yeah, they're empty. They're like ghost towns, and it's so bad because people who need checkups for other things, people who need treatment for other things, there will be so many more deaths from those than from the virus itself. I don't know how to get into a hospital without violating various, oh yeah, let's take a look at this. So right now, 0.3% of, like a grand total, so 41 cases in the entire, is this Toronto? So how many hospitals are there in Toronto? Toronto, the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area, 6.5 million residents. I'm going to guess there's probably a dozen hospitals all around Toronto. Would you say that's accurate, Justin? At least. I'm just, you know what? I don't want to guess. How many hospitals in Toronto? 40! That's what the Google machine says. 40. And let's just take a look. Let's take a list of them. Sure. You know, Mount Sinai, St. Michael's, Women's College, Prince Margaret, Toronto General, Toronto Western, North York General, Branson Division, Toronto Grace, Sunnybrook, Humber. There's so many, like that page alone, there's a dozen. And then there's, why would this say there's 40 hospitals, medical research facilities, teaching schools affiliated with the U of T, Baycrest Health, That's a kind of Bridgepoint Active Healthcare. So some of these are smaller hospitals, Etobicoke, Hospital for Sick Children, Princess Margaret Cancer Center. So some of these are sort of connected with each other. Centenary Hospital in Scarborough. I'm not going to list them all. That would be absurd. But my point is, let's say there's 40 hospitals. That's what the Google machine says. How many people are in the ICU in the entire Toronto? Look at when you hover over it, 41. So you have, on average, currently intubated. So what's the number there? 34 people have the little things in their nose. 41 are in ICU, grand total. And you have 170 cases at all that are in hospital. So your average hospital in Toronto has 4 people with the virus and has 1 in the ICU. Scroll down to that, you know my favorite one. It's not favorite, it's actually a terrible chart. This is death by age cohort. 1 fatality, one fatality under 19. And you would tell me that was a kid who had a terminal disease, is that what you said to me? So 1 death under age 20, 1 age 20 to 29, 1 age 30 to 30. So under age 40, and then how many age 40 to 49? 8. So we're at 11 under 50. So the under 50 population of the GTA is about 3.5 million. And you have, what was it, 8? Did I say that wrong, or 10 or something? 8? 8 deaths in the entire GTA in 112 days since the lockdown. I don't want to give away tonight's show, but I go through the number of opioid deaths and I compare them to the coronavirus deaths. Which do you think is higher? That's a ridiculous question, we all know. We all know. All right, did I miss any? Let's see, can you make her? Okay, I just read that one. Okay, I had a little bit of fun. I told you about some high school moments that were a little bit short and revealing. I want to hold my book up for one more second. I want to show you this book. This is a book that and I'm not going to get into it in detail now because we have to figure out how to film it. This book is a book I first found when I was in Hong Kong, a dozen years ago, whatever. And I think I told you, when I went to China, when I went to Hong Kong, I really focused on the bookstores. Obviously, the internet is so huge and dominant. But I wanted to see what actual books were allowed. Because it's one thing to be able to sneak a peek at a website, but an actual book, this is a big book. This is a heavy book, 316 pages. So if you have this book on display in a bookshelf, that's a certain level of well, ta-da, right? So you're not afraid of censors. I found this in Hong Kong, not in China. It is one of the most amazing books I've ever seen. It is a picture book. It is like a coffee table book of terror. It's called Red Color News Soldier, which is obviously a translation from the Chinese. A Chinese photographer's odyssey through the Cultural Revolution. Secret archive hidden for 40 years, the unseen story of the Cultural Revolution. And it is exactly that. And you might say, Ezra, I don't want to read a thick book. I like your mini books, Ezra. I like your book lit. I like your short and revealing books. I don't want to read, like you hear that? That's weighty. This thing is more like a fly swatter, mosquito bite. In fact, you wouldn't even want to go after a bug too much. So this is short and revealing. This is 316 pages and stunningly revealing. And it has photos, and we're going to do it right. I was talking to Justin about we're going to have a camera in here to zoom right in. Stock, security certificates, and savings book deposits confiscated in home searches were burned at a rally by Red Guards. I want to show you just one. I looked at this. Oh, here we go. Here we go. You see the 3 dunce caps? The 3 dunce caps here? Let me read the caption. At the Harbin Workers Club, party secretaries Chen Lei, Wang Yilun, and Li Fanwu are forced to wear oversized paper dunce caps during a criticism session. In the Binjiang district, blah, 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 a newlywed couple decorates their bedroom with pictures and quotations of Mao. Who wouldn't want that when you're being short and revealing? On the steps of Harbin's North Plaza Hotel, which served as a public space for criticism sessions and Red Guard rallies, one rebel group forces leaders from a rival group to kneel and be criticized. Kneel and be criticized. You know, they're burning books, they're making signs, they're having huge... There's one picture in here, I don't know if I'll be able to find it just by casually... I'm gonna have a show, I'm gonna go through this whole thing, and you're gonna be blown away. Oh, this one. This one. You know, there's a few in this vein. So this is 4 snaps in a row. As he tries to shout in his defense, Ouyang Xiang's mouth is stuffed with a glove. The sign around his neck bears his name and the date of his offending letter. There's several photos, and I'm going to put the book down now, we're going to do this properly. People who are taken to these struggle sessions, these criticism sessions, these self-denunciations, some of them said, no, I didn't do anything wrong. They stuffed things in their mouth to shut them up. In one absolutely gruesome case, and I'm not trying to gross you out, I want to show you what it was like. And oh my God, just replace Rex Murphy or Don Cherry or Wendy Mesley or any of the recently canceled people. Just unbelievable. Oh yeah, here it is. This is what I want to show you. And I'm sorry, but don't you think we should know this? And we're going to do this with a proper zoom in. I was talking to Justin today, we're going to have a camera right up close. I'm going to read it like George Bush reading a kindergarten book on the morning of 9/11 to kids, and then I'm going to leave. To stop Wang from proclaiming her innocence, the bailiffs dislocate her jaw before transporting her by truck to a snowy field on the rural outskirts of Harbin. So she was saying, no, I didn't do anything wrong. No, no, no. Ka-chunk. And then they put her in the back of a truck and drive away. This was the photograph book of the Cultural Revolution, of the struggle sessions, of the self-denunciations, of the self-criticisms. And I ask you to tell me any important difference between this and the mania we are living through now. I mean, you read this and we are absolutely there. The denunciations, the burning of books, just incredible. The shaming, the cooking things up. Oh, and youth leading the charge, just like young Greta's. How dare you? How dare you take my dreams? Yu Ziwen, accused of being a big property owner, there's nothing worse, is forced to carry a chair onto the stage at Red Guard Square and to stand on it for public criticism. The placard around her neck bears her name and her crime. Anyways, we'll have a day where we go through that. Today is not that day. The book is called Red Color News Soldier. I bought a copy in Hong Kong. I think I might have told you I took it. I smuggled it into China proper. This was a dozen years ago. I was worried that it would be taken and seized from me, but no one saw it. I misplaced my original copy, so I ordered this used, and it came here in good order. It is an extremely important book. It deeply affected me when I first read it a dozen years ago. That really happened. There were other similar Maoist-style zeroing, raising to nothing. Was it Cambodia where they killed everyone who had glasses? Because if you have glasses, then you could read a book. And if you read a book, well, any book other than that from the Communist Party is poison. Destroyed any musical instrument. If you had a musical instrument, you must be arrested. All art. Pol Pot, yeah, that sounds right. You know what, I'm not that strong on my Cambodia stuff, so I don't want to guess wrong, but I should bone up on that a bit. I think it was in Hong Kong. They had a whole museum about art that was destroyed. Lots of super chats. Let me catch up. Anyways, this book is very historically painful. And I'm not Chinese, as you may have noticed. But I still find it deeply wounding because I look at humanity and what was done to them in the name of a communist utopia. And then there's my little booklet, my mini book, my little matchbook, my little quick little glance here. And you got this guy who's never met a communist he doesn't like, whether it's, hey, can you give me the Alexandre Trudeau clip that we use from, when he talks about it? So here we are 50 years later, 1968, yeah, 50 years later, and this guy still loves the Communist Party of China, loves it. It's what he admires most about the basic dictatorship. That's what he said he loved about China. You asked me, Ezra, what do you love about China? I got a lot of answers. Obviously the food, duh. The history, very interesting. The architecture. The language is very hard, but I admire it. The scholarship. There's so many things to like. The culture, the people, the geography. Who, when asked what they like about a country, would not choose those things, but would choose its basic dictatorship. That's what Trudeau said he most admired about China. I like China, we have to help them move towards freedom. Okay, good enough answers. I love China, so much hope and opportunity, but they got to do it right. Okay, whatever, that's fine. That's a little weird. That's your favorite country in the whole, 200 countries almost. Maybe you say France because you're French Canadian. Maybe you say America because you love freedom. Maybe, I don't know, there's a lot of choices there. Israel, if you Christian or Jewish or whatever. Maybe you're Muslim, you say Saudi Arabia or whatever. Italy, that's one of my favorites, unbelievable. The UK. There's a lot of good answers. But to say, China, okay, I'm still with you, because of its basic dictatorship. No, that is the one thing to hate about China. And don't you know, and the big book shows it, that the number one victims of the Chinese Communist Party were the Chinese people. It is not anti-Chinese to criticize the Chinese Communist Party. If you love Chinese people, you must hate the Chinese Communist Party. Let me show you. It's not, and by the way, one of the things in this book, Mini, is short and revealing. This is a short and revealing book. Did you know that Justin Trudeau's brother Alexandre wrote a book about China? Okay, nothing. I wrote a book about China too. Get in line. I published mine myself through Amazon. They gave me a hassle, didn't want to publish it for 2 months. All right. You're a Trudeau, you're Alexandre Trudeau. You could get your book published by anyone. Who wouldn't want to publish a book by Trudeau? What do publishers do? They're in the make money business. You got a book by Alexandre Trudeau, it's going to make money. Why? Because every left-wing teachers union is going to assign it to their class, and they're going to buy thousands of copies, and it's going to be reviewed in the Globe Mail, Toronto Star, whatever. CBC is going to do a big document. You're going to make money. Maybe you are one of the various media companies that is actually connected to the Trudeaus. There's so many ways you can publish a book. Imagine saying, no. I don't want to go with Penguin Random House. I don't want to go with, I'm going to list, there's so many, but I'm not even going to publish it through Amazon. I'm going to get the People's Republic of China government, the dictatorship, the Chinese Communist, they will publish my book because it is such propaganda. Here, take a listen to Alexandre Trudeau doing an interview about his book, and this is in French, but it's got a live translation. Take a look.
And that is just not possible anymore because I was expected at home, of course. The book now. being a barbarian in China, in the new China. So why the book and why that title? Well, the book itself, it is sort of an organic phenomenon. The Chinese wanted to write a book on my father's visit to China, and they asked me to write, this was in 60, and they asked me to write the preface, and the Canadian edition was published in Vancouver. They published it, so they asked me to write a longer preface, and I said, fine, but I would like to go back to China and get into things, rediscover the country. And when I went there, I found I had so many things to say that they said, well, we can't put that in a preface, so we'll put it in a section. And actually, we'd like you to write a full book on it. Well, that was the pretext, but the idea is that China, for someone like me who was involved in geopolitics for quite a long time, just can't avoid China, which plays now a very important role.
So the government of China said, hey, can you write a little preface? The translator said preface. I think it's called preface. Oh, no, you want to write more? It's a chapter, it's a whole book. Well, or we'll publish it. I want to read. Can I quote from my book? I'm quoting from page 69. I'm going to do a little book reading here. Maybe this will get me in the spirit to record the audio book. Here's hoping. Everybody's so excited about that. Pierre Trudeau, I'm going to read from page 69. You can get this book at ChinaVirusBook.com. I'm going to read it. Pierre Trudeau was fascinated by dictatorships. He visited China once as prime minister, but he had already visited twice as a private citizen beforehand, including right in the middle of Mao's Great Leap Forward, a brutal economic program that killed between 20 and 40 million Chinese citizens. Maybe that's the turn their economy around on a dime part that Justin Trudeau mentioned. In other words, Trudeau came by his love for China's dictatorship honestly. He inherited it from his father. So did Trudeau's brother, Alexandre Sacha Trudeau, a filmmaker whose works including an anti-American propaganda film produced in cooperation with Iran's dictatorship. I just found a typo in my book. I'm devastated. Sacha isn't just Trudeau's brother. He was Trudeau's foreign policy advisor on his leadership campaign. And like his dirty deal with Iran's dictatorship, Sacha published a book about China commissioned by the dictatorship itself, a fact that he boasts about publicly. That was the boast you saw. That's not a real book then, Sacha. That's a propaganda pamphlet. But as Vladimir Lenin said, there are plenty of useful idiots in the West only too happy to work against democracy. Even the title shows the trademark Trudeau loathing for the West. Barbarian Lost, Travels in the New China. I now look at our freedoms with a little more circumspection and consider some of the irresponsible nature of some of the freedoms we enjoy, writes Sacha. Really? So freedoms are responsible? I'm shocked that the Chinese government published this. And like his brother, he admires China's basic dictatorship, saying he doesn't believe China, quote, could have come so far so quickly without the unity and organizational power. Just by sheer coincidence, Sacha's book came out around the time Justin Trudeau was on his first official visit to China as Prime Minister. Sacha said, he read it a week before he left for China, and he told me it helped him to get up to speed in what to think and feel about China, unquote. No wonder Trudeau was so subservient when he got there. It's the Trudeau family tradition to bow and scrape to China's dictators. The funny thing is, China doesn't seem so impressed with it. When Donald Trump, one of the harshest critics of China, visited the country, they rolled out the red carpet for him. And according to the New York Times, the establishment gave him two nicknames, Donald the Strong and Uncle Trump. Both names carrying some respect, even admiration. Trudeau's nickname was Little Potato, a play on words, but also a diminishment. That didn't seem to dawn on Chrystia Freeland, who was the foreign minister at the time, who boasted to the world just how proud she was that Trudeau was given that nickname. And my nickname is short and revealing. What do you think of the book? I'm in the spirit to record an audiobook now. Just reading that page and a half there, I'm ready to read it. And I might even throw in little interjections, like, for God's sakes, I spotted a typo. I might mention that in the audiobook, I might not. I might read it as a dramatic thespian, like Sacha and Justin. I might read it straight. I might say quote, unquote, or just use a voice so you know I'm speaking like Alexandre Sacha. There are so many things that could happen. I am pumped to record the audio, but I might even do it right now. Don't stop me. Don't try and stop me. Okay, Here, we got some super chats. We got some super chats going. Kane Enmark, $2. Can you Rebel stream in 4K? You don't want to see that, mister. You don't want to see. In fact, I asked Justin to make it low def. You don't want to see it in 4K. SA, $14. Toronto General had 2 patients on July 2nd. Toronto Western had 0. I believe you. I don't know what your source of information is. I would like to know because I would check that. Yeah, as we showed, there's not even one per patient, one per hospital in the whole city on the ICU side. Proud Boys Edmonton, $5. You like poetry, Trudeau? This gun grab is obscene. We've been opposing basic Chinese dictatorship since 2016. Drop a line at proudboysyag@gmail.com. Thank you. Julian Borges, $5. Read an article from CBC promoting the idea that sex work is essential and must be legalized, while us normal folk are to refrain from handshaking. Yeah, I think Sheila's doing a video on that today. Keep your eyes peeled. Cindy McSeven, Cindy, thanks for your support the other day when I saw your message that you were one of those fighting for my honor in the Amazon comments. I appreciate it. Cindy McSeven, $20, says, Trudeau is mashed potatoes, someone said. Thanks, Ezra, and all the Rebel Wa. I appreciate that, Cindy. Ryan Ferrier, $10. Check TO Public Health on Twitter, June 24th. They admit to including, for example, cancer deaths who have coronavirus as people dying directly due to coronavirus. Blatant inflating numbers. I think I saw that. I've seen other places say, theoretically, you die of a brain injury, like a car accident, but if you had the virus in you, they would call it a coronavirus death. Drain the Swamp, $5, thank you. Knucklehead, $5, thank you. Christian Lulich, $2. Look into having an interview with Andrew Yang. Yeah, he's quite a character. I don't know if he would do an interview with a Canadian because he's in the American scene, but that would be interesting. I just like that he's a little bit different. He zigs where the other guys zag. And he was interesting. And he still has all his mental faculties. Can you get me, I'm Joe Biden, I'm married to Joe Biden. You know what I'm talking about? Oh my God. Now I got to tell you, from time to time I have what I call Joe Biden moments. I had a Joe Biden moment. Did I lock the door? Oh shoot, I can't remember if I locked the door. I got to go get checked. Now, to tell you the truth, I've been doing that since I've been a teenager. I don't think it's a Joe Biden thing to forget if you left the stove on, if you locked the house door. It's just a thing, right? Because we're creatures of habit, and we almost daydream when we're doing it. It's like sometimes you drive on a route, you drive so many times, you're almost on mental autopilot. You know what I mean? You forget to make a different turn because you're so used to doing it. I think that, sometimes I forget a name or whatever. Joe Biden moment. But I think I'm still 93% here, which is good enough. It's not yet unacceptable. But look at Joe Biden and you tell me, is this elder abuse? Take a look.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Lily already indicated, I'm Joe Biden's husband, Joe Biden.
I'm Joe Biden's husband. Joe Biden. Who are you? Where are we? Can you play that one more time? Joe Biden.
Everyone, as Lily already indicated, I'm Joe Biden's husband, Joe Biden. Good afternoon.
Yeah, I don't think you're Joe Biden's husband, mate. What is his wife's name? Joe Biden. Jill. You know what? He's got a shtick where he's got a few shticks, he says, that he's been saying for 50 years. I've heard him say it so many times. He says, I'm Joe Biden and I'm running for the U.S. Senate. If you don't like me, vote for the other Joe Biden. Now that's a joke, right? Because he's pretending there's two Joe Bidens on the ballot when in fact there's only one. It's a cute little joke. He's been telling it for 40 years, but he forgets that he's not running for U.S. Senate. So he says, I'm Joe Biden and I'm running for U.S. Senate. If you don't like me, vote for the other Joe Biden. It's a joke, right? It's not a very funny joke. It's like a corny joke that a guy who's running for senator in the 1970s tells. But the joke today is that he keeps saying he's running for the U.S. Senate. He's not running for the U.S. Senate. I don't know. Toys are for boys, $6.66. Here's $6.66 in Canadian to help you fight world evil. Well, that's a little bit dramatic of you, I must say. Okay. It's 12:45. I read a brief excerpt from the book for you. I hope you liked it. How's the book in the rankings, by the way? I'm just excited about the book. You know, I got it the other day. I hear that, you know, Fraser said he got it delivered on Sunday. That's quite something. I might read another excerpt from the book. I just might do it. Oh, I will. How's the book looking? Got it. It's number 4 in all books, and that's the paperback version? Okay. I want to read, can I read another excerpt for you? Is that a good way to pass the time here? I got all these videos, but I'm getting sort of excited about reading my book. I'm getting confidence in the book. I'm going to read from page 77. Canada's submissiveness to China is deeper than Trudeau lets on. In fact, sometimes Canadians only learn about the latest humiliation after Trudeau has consented to when a Chinese propaganda outlet brags about it. Let me read that again. Canada's submissiveness to China is deeper than Trudeau lets on. In fact, sometimes Canadians only learn about the latest humiliation that Trudeau has consented to when a Chinese propaganda outlet brags about it. I gotta be careful. I gotta do a practice read before I read this in the audiobook. Take the staggering news in October 2019 on the eve of the virus outbreak that Canada had participated in a Chinese military competition. This wasn't just some amateur sports competition, it was specifically a military sports competition. But the Globe and Mail headline that broke the story in Canada was the strangest part. Beijing says Canadian military participation at Chinese sports competition, more proof it's not losing global support. That's the headline. Beijing says? Is that how we had to find out about this? Absolutely. The Canadian military sent Canadian soldiers over to China to have fun, to play some sports, engage in a little bonhomie, to normalize that country, to give them moral and political cover. Trudeau and Defense Minister Harjit Sajjan surely knew it couldn't remain a secret. Sending hundreds of Canadians to China for a mini Olympics was going to be news eventually, but there were no press releases or tweets about it from Canada. Beijing knew exactly what they were doing. This wasn't about sports or even about military matters. Quote, Beijing's embassy in Canada says the fact that the Canadian military just sent a big delegation to a sporting competition in China is more evidence the Asian power is not losing friends, unquote, reported the Globe and Mail. China was bragging, using Canada's submissiveness as proof that it's doing just fine. In fact, it was sort of a checkmate move by Beijing. The week before, the Globe and Mail published a column called How China Loses Friends and Alienates People, arguing that China's bullying of Hong Kong democracy activists would cost Beijing support. Instead of arguing to the contrary, Beijing just proved it. If China was so isolated, why was the Canadian government trying so hard to please them? So China broke the news. They told the world Trudeau and Sajjan's secret by outing them on the Chinese embassy's website. The 7th CISM Military World Game in Wuhan, China, attended by 9,308 military athletes from 109 countries, including a big delegation from Canada, speaks volumes in this regard, unquote. Amazingly, the military games were in the very city in China that was ground zero for the epidemic just weeks later. Canada had sent a huge delegation, 114 athletes and 57 coaches and support staff. Normally that's the sort of thing you brag about, tweet about, issue press releases and photos about. 171 people flying to a country for a sporting event is not quite an Olympic-sized delegation, but it's huge. Many millions of dollars. It's not something we do regularly for even our own NATO allies. And earlier in the year, Trudeau canceled the 2019 NATO Air Force War Games held in Cold Lake, Alberta, called Maple Flag, the Canadian equivalent to the Top Gun program. There was no money for that. but there was plenty of money to send 171 military men and women to Wuhan. Harjit Sajjan himself should know better, but like his boss Trudeau, he loves China. He even attended a celebration for the 70th anniversary of the Chinese Communist Party, right in the middle of the 2019 Canadian election campaign. Not a celebration of China the country, or China the people. He was cheering for the communist dictators. That's demoralizing enough for the family of the two Michaels, for democracy activists in the Chinese-Canadian community. But what about to Sajjan's own troops? Trudeau treats Canadian soldiers poorly and Canadian veterans even worse. But veterans of People's Liberation Army are flourishing in Canada. They even have their own version of the Legion, incorporated in Canada as the Canada-Chinese Veteran Society. They dress up in Chinese military uniforms, sing songs about vanquishing communism's enemies, and generally act out China's vision of world domination. It's only surprising that Sajjan hasn't attended one of their galas too, although, like the secret military mission to Wuhan, perhaps we'll need to find out about it from the Chinese embassy when it suits them to prove a point. There's, I want to keep reading, but I don't want to read the whole book to you. I'm sort of excited about the book. Let me tell you some of the chapters. Can I do this? The book, I'm excited by the book. I'm excited that it's doing well on the virus arrives and Trudeau goes on vacation. Hey, can I show you? I don't want to give it all away. Oh, look at the books behind me. I'm a man of leather-bound books. Ooh, I've even read some of these books. I'm a collector of fine books. A lightweight PM in heavy times. That's chapter 2. Chapter 3, China covers up its Chernobyl. You know what? I love that HBO miniseries Chernobyl. I watched it twice. Whose side is who on? You get it? Who? That's not a who's on first Abbott and Costello thing. That's WHO, World Health Organization. Trudeau versus Trump. I wrote a whole book about that called Trump and Trudeau, how the two men were different. Pandemic recipe, open borders and open skies. It's true. Trudeau's Great Recession. Yeah, it's terrible, but it's his. You must stay home, but migrant workers can travel. The Trudeau family's love for basic dictatorships. I read a little bit of that. China buys the Liberal Party. Oh, that's a good chapter. Maybe that's the best chapter in the book. China buys the Liberal Party. It's 1252. I'm going to read just a teeny tiny bit. I don't want to give it away. This is probably the most important chapter. I'm not going to read too much. While the Trudeau boys and Freeland were starstruck by a nickname and flattery, the real decision makers in the Liberal government got down to business. Like Trudeau told the ethics commissioner, he doesn't really do any actual work. He leaves that to the smarter guys and the harder working guys. And in the case of Canada-China relations, Trudeau hired every China lobbyist and corporate shill he could find. More than any other issue, from taxes to trade to healthcare, the single most pronounced characteristic of any given Trudeau staffer is that they are part of the China lobby. Even before Trudeau was sworn in, China lobbyists were appointed to the highest offices of his government. Trudeau appointed Peter Harder to lead his transition team, perhaps the single most important position, as it was Harder's job to fill hundreds of posts within the government. Harder's job before that, he ran the Canada-China Business Council, the chief pro-China lobby group in Canada. The entire foreign policy team was in a contest with itself to see who could be more pro-China. In early 2017, Trudeau appointed John McCallum as Canada's ambassador to China, who famously testified that his approach to any and all Chinese relations was simply, quote, more, unquote. And I footnote that. Not more for Canada. Oh, now my phone's talking to me. My watch was talking to me, excuse me. Just simply more whatever China would offer him. He would take anything, really. He'd say anything. Sometimes it was hard to tell. Was he Canada's ambassador to China or China's ambassador to Canada? As an MP, I'm just going to give you one little tidbit here. As an MP, McCallum accepted countless free trips to China from their government. $73,000 worth while he was in opposition. Apparently that's legal as long as McCallum disclosed them, which he did. The Chinese government must have known it was a good investment for them to pour such resources into him. After Trudeau brought the Liberals back to power, McCallum remarked that Canada had, quote, more in common, unquote, with China under Xi Jinping than it did with the United States under Donald Trump. he just couldn't stop loving China. Even after that dictatorship seized 2 Canadian hostages, Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig, in retaliation for Canada arresting Chinese telecom executive Meng Wanzhou, the chief financial officer of Huawei, for financial crimes. Meng may or may not be guilty. She has had access to the finest lawyers and lives a life of luxury in Vancouver while she fights her extradition to the U.S. Independent courts will decide. The arrest, really the kidnapping of the 2 Michaels, is anything but a proper legal process, and Chinese diplomats have expressly called it a tit for tat. It's an outrage. It's China's basic dictatorship. That ought to be evident to anyone, but even if McCallum couldn't see it, his sole mission as ambassador was to take Canada's side, but he just couldn't quit loving China and giving them more. At a press conference in Toronto with the Chinese language media, McCallum publicly said he thought Meng had a strong case, and he suggested that the whole thing was simply a political intrigue or a bargaining chip to Donald Trump. There is no way that a senior ambassador and former cabinet minister had an organized press conference in front of the Chinese language press without the full knowledge and involvement of Trudeau's office. Whether they simply underestimated the public shock or never thought the news would leak out from the Chinese press to the mainstream press is unclear. Trudeau simply couldn't keep McCallum. He had painted Trudeau into a corner, so he had to be fired. But is there any doubt that until the moment he was sacked, McCallum was China's most loyal asset in the Canadian embassy? Peter Harder was a key China appointment for Trudeau because he was in charge of so many other hires, and John McCallum was the most important appointment because he was the ambassador. But China's influence in the Trudeau government is strong precisely because it is so pervasive. Being pro-Beijing is an unquestionable act of faith for a Trudeau liberal as much as being a feminist. Take Yuen Pao Wu, appointed to the Senate by Trudeau and made leader of the Liberal-aligned Independent Senators Group. He has a long history of supporting China, and like Harder, before he joined Parliament, he was the head of a pro-China lobby group too, the Asia-Pacific Foundation. His speeches in Canada's Parliament sound like they could be given in China's National People's Congress, including a bizarre tirade in support of China's attempts to annex more territory, a provocation that has been deemed illegal by international tribunals. Wu suggested that for Canada to merely condemn China's actions could in fact trigger a war. An insane comment for anyone to make, but like McCallum's obeisance to China and Tam's submission to the WHO, it begs the question, whose side is Wu on? There's a tone deafness amongst Trudeau's Liberals. It's like they're surrounded by pro-Beijing groupthink and don't even know how extreme they look because they're all doing it. Take Mary Ng, another one of Trudeau's gender quota cabinet ministers. She visited China last year on a junket, despite China holding the 2 Canadians hostage, and she and Peter Harder posed for a photo, smiling ear to ear at an ice cream shop in Beijing. Is it heartless to go on a pub crawl style party through China and tweet selfies about it while 2 Canadian hostages remain in a Chinese prison? Probably. But if everyone from the Prime Minister and his brother on down are doing it, if the ambassador and Liberal boss and the Senate are doing it, then that's obviously the culture in the Liberal Party. Not only is it acceptable, it's the way to get ahead. It's natural to be pro-China in the Liberal Party, much more natural than being pro-America. In a recent TV interview about whether or not to allow Huawei to build Canada's 5G networks, Navdeep Bains, Trudeau's innovation minister, defiantly told Trudeau's CBC state broadcaster that he, quote, refused to be bullied, unquote, by the United States and their worries about security breaches. You know what? I'm going to record the audiobook today. I'm having so much fun reading the book, even though I found 2 typos, which makes me sad. Okay, let's read some of them super chats, everybody. SA, $14. I sent the photo proof of the COVID patients to you. Ezra at Rebel News email. Hopefully you'll see the email. Thank you. I'll take a look-see. Be kind today, $20. Keep up the fine work. Well, thank you for saying so. I'm excited about the book now. Gordon Smith, 150 Mexican pesos. Hello from CDMX. What is your handicap for conservative leadership? Dark horse and who you think will win? I think, it's impossible to say. I think it's between Aaron O'Toole and Peter MacKay, of course. I don't know. You can game the system by having a few supporters in very low membership ridings. I just don't know. And I don't think anyone would know. If I had to bet, I'm going to say Aaron O'Toole. It's just a guess. Copa Dessau, 22 Norwegian kroners. Trudeau wants to make Canada Greta again. No typo. Good one. Koi, $10. Hi, Ezra, I bought your book. Well, thanks very much. I'm excited I'm going to do the audiobook today. I'm going to record it today. I might even record it on video. What do you think of that? I might even record it on video. Don't make me. It's short and revealing. Flat Earth Data, $14. All of Donald Trump's cabinet are all Jesuit trained. Justin Trudeau is Jesuit trained. Is the Vatican at play here? The Pope did say in his book, personal freedoms are dangerous to the environment. I think you're confusing a few things. Pierre Trudeau was Jesuit trained. Justin Trudeau is like kindergarten trained. He's not trained by anybody. He's barely toilet trained. Trump's cabinet, you got Catholics, you got Protestants. I think you got some Jews in there. So I think your facts are wrong, but I think Trump is really the boss of everything, and I don't think he's Catholic, is he? Is Trump Catholic? I don't know. Like I don't think he's particularly religious. I think, like Churchill said about the church, he's a pillar. He's not a pillar of the church. Presbyterian. That's what he feels like a Presbyterian. Trump. You know, Churchill said, "I'm not a pillar of the church. I'm a buttress. I support it, but from the outside." I think that's Trump. Hillary Watt, $2. Did Justin congratulate U.S. on Independence Day? Yes, in a rather grudging way, but he did do it. I checked. Okay, well, it's 101. James Nolan, $20. I just ordered your book off Amazon today. I'm sick of Canadians not knowing who's leading the country. Why do my friends care about Trump so much when we have Trudeau literally throwing our rights down the toilet? Yeah, it is a bait and switch. It's a placebo. It's a fake. Global News is terrible at it. CBC is obviously the worst. To give you the simulacrum of speaking truth to power, you'll see the CBC and Global News and CTV take on Donald Trump. Yeah, he's not your president, mate. He's not making the rules here in Canada. You're bravely taking on a leader in another country while asking softball questions to your own leader, if you ask them at all. Justin Trudeau is in, the 100th day of his self-hiding, non-medical, vacation-y lockdown. That's my very first, I want to read one more thing, and I know it's after 1 o'clock. I just want to read, I did some research. Let me see if I can find it. All right. I'm giving away too much of the book. So I'm talking about the day when the first virus case was announced in Canada, January 25th, if I recall. So there's a big press conference on the weekend, which you don't normally have in politics. And I talk about how no one in the federal government cared, really. Let me read a little bit of page 8. This is how I start the book. Trudeau himself was on another one of his famous personal days, according to his official itinerary, even though he had just come off an astoundingly long 17-day Christmas holiday in Costa Rica and was still sporting his vacation beard. And Chrystia Freeland, the deputy prime minister to whom Trudeau had delegated most of his ever lighter workload, was overseas, partying with the international jet set at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. No one was minding the store. The next morning, Canada's Sunday newspapers were panicked. There was a giant manhunt on for 30 other passengers who had been on the same plane from China as the man who would turn out to be Canada's first case of COVID-19. But Trudeau couldn't be roused. A full day after the virus bombshell, he was still in hiding, and his official itinerary was blank, other than noting he was taking another personal day. That week, virus cases would be reported in BC and then Quebec too. On January 31st, U.S. President Donald Trump imposed restrictions on flights from China to the United States, barring non-citizens, but Trudeau would wait another 6 weeks until mid-March before making the same decision. He had other things on his mind, including another vacation just days away. On February 6th, Trudeau left Canada and flew to Ethiopia to start his next foreign adventure, a 9-day overseas junket, meeting with some of Africa's worst dictators, offering them massive foreign aid gifts in return for their votes for Canada to be given a temporary seat on the UN Security Council. A review, this is my own research here, a review of Trudeau's international travel schedule since he became Prime Minister in 2015, I looked it up, shows there was no period of time in which he was away from Canada more than he was during those crucial first weeks of the pandemic. He is a lazy man who goes on enormous vacations and takes countless personal days. But I went back and checked. I did the math. He was more checked out during the early months of the pandemic than even his laziest moments since he became PM. And that is a fact. Couple more super chats, then we're going to take a dog video, and then I got to go. I got to go read this short and revealing book as an audiobook. That's what I got to do. And it can be $5. In my opinion, this virus was developed to target elderly folks for retirement money. Where does the money go if they cannot collect? I don't know. I talk about the Wuhan Virology Institute a little bit in the book, and I say this. It's like Chernobyl in a way. I have a whole chapter on that. You had the crisis, you had the problem, you had the explosion, you had the epidemic that turned into a pandemic, you had the problem. But then the problem compounding the first problem was the cover-up, the lies, the dictatorship's approach. That's why I really love the movie HBO. It was really illuminating. So even if the virus had a innocuous or innocent beginning, the way China covered it up was inexcusable. And then the way the World Health Organization covered it up was doubly inexcusable. And I have a whole chapter in there on Theresa Tam you're not going to want to miss. David Anderson, $2. Already bought the book. We'll buy your audio and vid too. Thank you. I'm so excited. You know, I had fun reading it. I forget how much fun it is. You know, I don't read books out loud anymore. When you have little kids, you do that a lot. It's fun to read a book out loud. I'm going to read my audiobook. Julian Borges, $2. Thoughts on Ayn Rand's philosophy on objectivism. Well, you know, I read when I was in high school, there was an Ayn Rand or Ayn Rand, I don't know how to say it, contest. If you read the book, Atlas Shrugged, and wrote a book report on it, there was a huge cash prize for the best essay. Like I'm talking, it was like 25 grand, or at least that's how I remember it. I'm talking when I was a teenager. So the idea, well, I'm a good essay writer when you're 16, 17. I'm going to just do a great job. 25 grand, oh my God. Maybe it was only 2,500, but in my mind it was 25,000. So I got into it and I read, she's got a lot of books. I read Fountainhead. I read a bunch of them, and frankly, I can't remember them. There was one of them about the people who invented electricity, and then the Candle Makers Union tried to stop it. That was actually my favorite Ayn Rand book by far. I think it was a useful stage for me. I learned a lot. It sharpened my thinking about looters and moochers, and the demonization that this book documents of entrepreneurs, property owners, etc. But just like libertarianism is insufficient, I think Ayn Rand objectivism is insufficient. And I would now call myself a nationalist, conservative, obviously a Democrat and a liberal. I would call myself a neoliberal nationalist conservative. Does that even make sense? I don't know. You label, I won't label myself, you label me. I talk twice a day. How can you not know who I am? All right. What a great day. I'm so psyched about reading the audiobook. It's 1:09. Are there any other... Okay, I think we're all caught up here. I'm going to leave you, again, every day. Justin curates a dog video. I don't know what he's going to show until I see it the same moment you do. But it is a fact that these videos make me a little bit happier, sometimes 5% happier, sometimes 25% happier. So on that note, I'm going to bid you adieu. Please go to chinavirusbook.com if you want the book. I think it's only like $7.50 for the ebook. Not bad for a short and revealing little book. $14.50 for the print copy. I mean, look at that gorgeous artwork. Am I right? I'm sorry, that's gorgeous. Okay. Goodbye, everybody. Here's the dog video.
Woohoo! Hole in one!
That's a good